I'm out here spraying weeds. What the heck is this thing? Definitely gonna try to get him in a cup. Maybe we can set him in epoxy. Let's try it. So after picking out a nice piece of burl, let's get this thing to the sander, sand it down so we get some nice clean edges. And here you can see I'm putting down some tape on the base so we have something that the epoxy won't stick to. Then I'm going to be cutting up these plastic pieces from the tops of a tray. That way I can get some strips, glue up the sides. Now let's take the burl and the moth and use UV resin to get them glued together. So I put some UV resin down in the corners and around the edges, just so we know we don't have any leaks. Now to December 24th, pmhcustomcreations.com, 20% off. Charcuterie boards, dragon eggs, coasters. And while you're there, check out the merch. And I mixed up 24 ounces of resin with a little green tint, 1 drop of some alcohol ink. It's looking a little greener because it's sitting in 24 ounces. It's going to be a lot clearer. This is all mixed. Let's get ready for the pour. So I'm just gonna babysit this for a minute. That way I can keep popping some of the bubbles that are coming up. It's okay if we have some on top, because hopefully we can turn this on the lathe. want to mark how wide the bug actually is. Kind of like safety parameters. Now I want to get something round. Put it here. So now we'll find our center where the circle will be, somewhere over here. Get a block glued onto this so we can get it on the lathe and get this cut. I might sand down these corners a little bit just so it's not so hard on the tools. There was way too much vibration on the lathe. This thing's way out of balance. Tried to sand it down some, but I think it's still too much for what I'm trying to do. I'm gonna take it down the rest of the way with the sander because I really can't think of another way to get the rounded dome look that we're going for. It's working pretty good. Since we already have the radius that we want, we could just sand it down to that. This is a 120 grit, so it's not too rough. So now let's take this from the belt sander and get some hand sanding done. Maybe we'll use the orbital. Take this from the 120 that the belt sander is. Let's get it up to some 320. So I mixed up some epoxy. Let's slowly pour this on the top of this Swiss roll so we can bring back the color. So I got a piece of cedar marking out where this is gonna sit. That way we can give it a nice cedar base. I'm gonna cut this to size. Now that I got the block cut to size, I'm gonna use some Ipswich pine wood finish. Let's crack this open and get started. You really see the difference. Now that we have our base finished, let's figure out where we're gonna set up 2 dowels. Somewhere in the bottom where it won't be seen. Let's mark our drill bit so we know how deep to go. That's about a good halfway. Put a blue tape flag, double check that. A little bit more than halfway, so we're good. There's our 2 holes. Now that the dowels are in there nice and tight, let's clean up this glue squeeze out. Now we gotta just figure out our placement and give it a mark. Now I know where to drill out these holes. So I oversized the holes on the bottom so we can fine tune the adjustment. I got them to where it feels good. Just gonna add a little bit of Titebond wood glue to these dowels. Alright, let's let this dry. You can see me using the UV resin, putting it down on the seam where the epoxy meets the wood. That way we can get a nice clean edge. After sealing up around the 4 sides with UV resin, I headed over to the buffing wheel.